Welcome to the Dwayne Kerrigan Podcast, and I'm your host, Dwayne Kerrigan. With 35 years in business and close to 30 ventures across 12 industries, I've seen a lot. Amid the celebrity allure of entrepreneurship, many exceptional entrepreneurs remain shadowed. Here, I team up with these hidden talents to unveil their challenges and successes. Dive in with me to unearth entrepreneurial gems, learn from our experiences, and get educated. Hey everybody, this is the second part of the conversation with John Karpov, and so he's the owner of Action Home Services. You want to go back and catch the first part of that conversation. It is a story of complete scarcity to total abundance, and what he did, to just survive as an immigrant to Canada. It's mind-blowing, the journey that he took and the courage and the strength. And all driven from some level of desperation, and we've all been there. So go back and listen to part one, and then come back and see us for this week, part two. We appreciate you guys listening. Thank you for your support, and we will see you next week. And have a wonderful, amazing day. So she was not in the country; she was in Poland back when, and then she immigrates to Canada as a student as well.
Yeah,
correct.
I'll just then tell a story about her. So we started to date at the end of the high school. We dated for 2 months at the end of high school. Then she decides to go to Poland to study because relationships were not serious at that point of time. Canada was not an option for her because there's X amount of time you need to apply for it. And she knew I'm going to Canada, but to apply, to go through the entire process, 6 months period. And she was applying for Poland before we're dating. So when we started the date, she was going there, I was going to Canada. Then after 6 months of dating together virtually, I said, well, it's not really going to work. So you have to move here. I don't want to go back to Kazakhstan. I'm not coming to Poland. So she starts to apply to come here, study English, and then go to college as well. She applies for a visa once, she gets rejected. She applies for a visa second time, she gets rejected. She speaks with a lawyer. Lawyer says the chances of you getting it after 2 rejections, about 5%. She applies third time, she gets rejected. At that point of time, everybody says, there's no fucking way you're kidding. That's it, you're done. She calls me, she's crying, she's saying, well, we gotta break up. It's not gonna happen. And she calls me in the middle of my shift doing driver sealing. And I told her, stop crying, just fucking apply again. Go for it. She goes, applies, she gets accepted.
Took the sentimental approach, eh? Stop fucking crying and apply again.
She applies and she gets it, and nobody cannot believe how the hell she gets approved because actually, she didn't apply the fourth time. What she did is she wrote a letter asking, why did you reject it? I would like to get an explanation. And instead of replying to a rejection, they say yes. They just change their mind. So now she...
And do you ever find out why? Did they ever say?
No. Well, so in order for you to get to Canada, you need to prove that you have enough financial support to actually do it. You have to have X amount of paperwork. You have to show that you're going to be planning to come back after all of this. And for whatever reason, they didn't believe. So,
sorry, to come back to your home country.
Kazakhstan, yeah, after you're done with school.
So you go for your education and you go back home.
Yeah.
Which then leads me actually to another question is how do you, at some point in time, you graduate school, you've got your landscape business. How do you end up staying in the country?
So what happens is Shahira, as she comes, I got to tell you one more quick story. This is, you can cut it out, but it's going to be interesting too. It's goes back to the conversation we had on a boat about destiny. So Shahira applies and she has a very specific day when she needs to get into Canada for the visa to work. She sends passport over. She buys the tickets on a plane. She sends the passport to embassy. The embassy receives passport. She is now in another city waiting for a flight to be boarded. She doesn't have a passport. She's waiting there. And on the day when she was supposed to receive it, she doesn't have it. Her sister drives to embassy after hours, stays there for 3 hours, a local version of Canada Post guy walks by. She asks him, "Do you have your passport?" After hours, around 8 o'clock. Says, "Oh, yes, I do." She gets a passport. She takes the passport, drives it to airport to Shahira, where Shahira is sitting and waiting about to be boarded on a plane.
Are you fucking kidding me? Like, that's unreal. Guys, the two of you guys, your willingness to just never give up, the two of you guys is a quality like, we're going to probably circle back to that, but it's like this never give up attitude that the two of you have is one of the things that really has struck me, over the, half dozen times or maybe more than that we've met and seen each other. It's like, it is really inspiring to see, what are you, 27 now?
28.
28. To see young people who are just hungry, driven, want to succeed, but not even just that. It's like, you guys want to contribute to the community and to the team members. And it really is mind blowing. So, my hat's off to you guys, and that's just so honorable.
So you asked this question, how did we stay later? And that's a really interesting question for anybody who never went through immigration process in Canada. So as I had my own business, I now, after I have got my graduation certificates from college, I now have an open work permit, which means I can legally go and I can work anywhere. And at this point of time, in order for me to legally stay in Canada, I need to go and work in another company. I could not be employed in my own company to get legally papers. So what ended up happening is Shahira goes and works in another company, and now she's the one getting experienced working in Canada while I'm still running the business. So she's working part-time helping me as an office administrator. She works full-time in another company because we simply needed her to work to get the legal paperwork. So as she's working there, and now the way it works is the system counts points. So I went to college here for 3 years. She went to college here for a year, but she also had 2 years of working Canadian experience, and we both have a perfect English test. So combination of all of this allowed us to then apply for permanent residency. But the way it worked is just another drama which happened is in order for her to apply, she needs to get a very specific type of certificate from her employer. When she was applying for a job, she told him about it right from the beginning, that I'm applying for a job. I need your help to assist me with getting through this citizenship obtaining process. And he said it's fine. When it gets down to a point of him having an interview, he is now saying that he's not going to help after her working in a company for 2 years. And now what happens if he doesn't do it, we're going to get kicked out from Canada because that's it. Our work permit is about to close.
So you have a business that is how big is it?
8 million.
8 million. And so what do you got? 40 guys working for you?
Yeah.
Got to be at least, right?
Yeah.
And you have to close up shop and go home.
Yeah. Well, that was happening all the way till the moment I got my permanent residence card. I had this another scarcity mindset that at any point of time, I could be taking away everything because I would lose everything if I don't have the papers. So the scarcity mindset, which started, then moved to this one because at any point of time, I'm realizing that I'm on an edge, that if we don't get PR, that's it. Like I legally can't stay here. I'm going to have to go back or I have to move somewhere else, but I can't stay here. And I'm building the business. And now as I'm building the business, I'm legally employing people. The business is over a certain revenue size. So now I, as an employer, can assist other people in obtaining citizenship. I'm helping them. They are getting. I
can't get your own.
Can't get mine.
Okay, that's kind of messed up, actually. But Canada's not the only country that does that. Like this, that happens in the U.S. I think that's how the U.S. is set up too. So,
yeah, I think the system has some gaps because I understand they're trying to prevent fraud from happening by doing this, but at the same time, I'm one of those examples where I could have been kicked away entirely simply because her employer didn't want to do it. It was just really an ethical guy. So long story short, the amount of points which we needed to apply somehow dropped a week before our permit expires. It just goes down. And let's say you needed to apply, let's say 600 points to apply. And the only way how we can get to that amount of points is by her having this paper certificate, which he's not assisting anymore. And the amount of points which we need to apply goes from 600 to 400. So it's a huge drop. Almost never happens. So government decided that they want to take on more immigration. They announced it. A week later, the amount of point drops. We now have enough points to apply. And those points are your work experience in Canada, your education in Canada, your English test, your age, your spatial status. So combination of all of them allows us to apply. We apply, and now we can legally stay here. And we're waiting for the application to be reviewed. And then after application got reviewed, we're able to get this permanent residency.
God, man.
So we were like very close on the line. We're right in the edge.
You guys have been riding the line. You at this stage for 4 or 5 years, 5 years in the country. Like a series of events that had to kind of happen to make this, is just destiny or grace.
Yeah. So like we've spoken about, it's the destiny. It's just all over my life. It's everywhere because it just so often I play on this edge. So when I'm talking about the scarcity mindset, it's not me being scared. There's always something happening where I'm like right on the edge, and then I get over it. So right now I'm just very comfortable and used to be on that edge, and it's really fucking hard to scare me on anything. But it's always keeping in my back of my head that something could always happen without you wanting this or without you expecting this, right? It's life. Things could happen without you expecting them.
Well, and I think that, you make a really good point. Like that is a little bit about life. I think sometimes the worst thing that we could rely on is this need for certainty, where everything kind of fits in a box and, everything is going to be great. And we have this absolute certainty, and that just doesn't exist in life. And, I think part of the problem is just that we, people go, I love surprises. Like, I'm not certainty driven. It's like, you like the surprises you want.
Yep.
But you don't like all the surprises you get.
Yep.
And, that's all growth comes outside your certainty, outside your comfort zone. And so, yeah, man, so cool. So you guys become citizens. Well, you get your residency.
Oh, we just get a residence, but we didn't even get the residence at that point of time. We applied for it, which now gives us ability to stay here, and we can extend. I don't want to lie. I don't remember what happened. We either extended our work permit because of this, or we legally can stay in Canada. But now we're also waiting for the residency to be reviewed for another year or so, or a year and a half.
But I get why she can stay because she has a job. Well, how do you get to stay in the country at this stage?
The moment I finished college, after you finished college, if you stayed in college for 3 years, you get the ability to apply for a work permit for the same amount of years you were in college. And then you don't need to work in a Canadian company, but you legally can stay in Canada for that amount of years and you can work. So as I did that, Shahira only went to college for 1 year, but when we were applying for a work permit, we used and she was a spouse. So because she was a spouse, she also got 3 years.
Got it. Okay.
And just to give you a perspective, if I would have went to college for 2 years, because the same program existed for 2 years, would have been out of Canada. We did, like, this gap of job would have not happened. Would have been out. I decided to take a 3-year course for whatever reason. It gave me a 3-year window. A week before the points dropped. A week before the work permit expired. So somehow things aligned and I got it. Then we're waiting for PR. The business continued to scale. And now I already knew, at least I applied for PR, and I knew I'm doing absolutely everything legally. I'm paying the taxes. I'm the best citizen the country can see, not doing anything illegal. I'm just really desperately want to get these papers and doing everything by the book. So I know I just need to wait, and there's no reasonable there's nothing reasonable what could happen why I would not receive it. So all I need to do is just stay still and wait, and that's essentially what happened. A year and a half later, we get our PR, and then then at that point of time, I can breathe out. I realize, okay, I'm at least could stay in Canada now. Like, I'm not gonna get kicked out.
And what happens with your psychology at that stage? I'm curious.
I don't think there was major of a change. If I were to look back on all 10 years of my life, the amount of change and a breakthrough points I'm going through within a year, it's just truly remarkable. Like my mind shifts every single year because as the business scales and as I'm getting more mature, things around my life change. So from the moment I got into in the country till the moment I got the PR, my mindset totally changed. I also became much older, right? It's like there's been this age difference, which may sound a little weird, but when I started in the business at 17 years old,
there's a lot of 50-year-olds listening to what you just said and going, age?
Yeah, things do change because you're getting from a teenager to becoming an adult. And my adulthood of me actually becoming an adult happened here without having a friends here, without having a family here. And then through the stage, I started to find friends in Canada, find the people I like. My wife moves here, so obviously I now have the family here, and business starts to scale. So things I have to now adapt to the growth of the business. I have to become a better leader and a better person. So things started to change. The moment I got a PR, to be honest, I wasn't like super thrilled or super happy about it because I knew that the moment I applied for it, I'll get it. Like there's no way I'm not gonna get it because everything I'm doing is very legit, very legal. Being a great citizen.
Yeah, you got high confidence that you're getting your residency.
So I got it, and then at that point of time, business was already scaling. So I can't say that anything changed in terms of the business. And as I was building the business, I was all in regardless. So I was not building the business with the idea that at any point of time I could leave, or if business could have been taken away from me. I was betting all in all the times that I'm going to stay here. I'm going to get the papers, and I was reinvesting heavily back in the business. So even right now, if we were to look, like I was taking some debt, but I was very conservative was debt. So a lot of things were buying out up front. I couldn't justify paying an interest on a lot of things because I didn't need really the net profit to fulfill my own internal needs. I wasn't withdrawing much of the money from the business, and I was reinvesting everything. So
which actually is an interesting point that I didn't think about as you were talking about it, but it's now that you mention it, it's like, you've got a very high degree of doubt at some level that you were potentially could be kicked out of the country. Like there is that scarcity thought that you had mentioned, but you're still plowing all your money back into the business. I mean, that's an interesting mindset in itself, because I think a lot of people would be like, okay, I'm going to invest this money so that if I get kicked out of the country, I've got a nest egg to go and take back somewhere else.
I think when I said about scarcity mindset, it's before you might have not understood what I meant about it. I knew the risks I'm taking. Mm-hmm. So that's what I mean by having the scarcity mind. Probably it's not even a scarcity mindset in that case. It's understanding the risks which I'm taking. So I knew there is a chance I'm going to get kicked out. Was I scared about it? Of course, right? Like you could lose it all. But would I still bet? Yeah, I still went all in. So I was not trying to play safe. In order for this business to scale, I have to go all in. I'm going to get papers no matter what. Is there a chance I'm not going to get them? Absolutely. I just not going to put it even as an option on my table. I'm not going to make any single decision considering that the worst outcome could possibly happen. I would only consider that I will get all the papers so that stay here. Specifically when I was making decisions about the business, I was only using one logic.
Yeah, totally get it. So I've been making, as I've been making notes here, there's this like sequence of events that I've been kind of tracking. And, the first sequence of events that I drew away from some of this is I get good at sales, right? Selling is the growth lifeblood of the business. And then you talked about hiring people. You talked about hiring the foreman that had the experience to get you through the big jobs. Then you talk about systems. And then you talked about administration as you're starting to scale your business. What's the next thing? As now you've got your residency, your business is somewhere probably between 8 and 10 million in revenue. You're fucking can't be more than 24 years old at this point, I think. if I'm doing the math right in my head. These are big accomplishments, man. And the whole time you're juggling, this pressure of staying in the country and making this work and all that kind of stuff. But as you go to scale to the next level, what did that look like? What did it look like in terms of the growth of the scale? Was there a big significant jump from the 8-10? Then you went to, whatever, because earlier you had said you kind of grew at, I wrote down 40 to 50% year over year.
It's an interesting thing you just said. It's quite an accomplishment. So the question too, is that a scarcity mindset? Because I did not feel like it's an accomplishment at that point of time. To me, it did not feel anything special. Maybe because my box around me and I didn't speak with any other people and I just didn't know what the size of the business should have been. But to me, it did not feel like I've done anything special. So what's your opinion? Is that a scarcity mindset at that point of time or what?
I mean, I think it depends on where it's coming from. When you're, it could be, it could be just your past, how you grew up, where your belief system came from, what your rules were, what your value systems are, in regards to, your outlook on life. And I'm just kind of pulling at strings here, but it's, when you grow up in a environment, and this is, I think, what is fascinating, the immigrant story for specifically like the North America or the West, was built on immigrants. I mean, the entire history of our, last 300 or whatever years is the story of immigration. And, I've met a lot of successful immigrants, Italian, my good friends' parents, Italian, Portuguese, they came here, they worked, they, grew businesses. And, there was a common theme of, I don't want to say it's never enough, but there was this hunger for a better life. And the definition is, well, what's better? And if better to you is a $50 or $100 million business or a $1 billion business, then 10 million, is, you're not there yet. And so, I guess that would be the question I would throw kind of back to you about the vision that you have and where you see yourself in, say, the next 10 years. And, and at what point do you start to realize like, hey, you know what, having some, self-love or having some appreciation for what you have accomplished and, what is there yet to accomplish? Because there's a fine, I know in my own journey, there's been a fine line to that. I never felt anything I did was, really good enough. Probably still don't at some level. But I am better at it. But I'd throw it right back to you, actually.
It's a hard, really hard thing to swallow, to actually have this fulfillment and to accept that you've actually accomplished something for somebody with my personality. So very often I don't feel that. I rarely look at good things. I very, very heavily concentrate on things which are going wrong. I can't do much with the things which are already working. I can do a lot with things which are not working. So I'm constantly looking for things which are broken or I can make better. And if something is working and I don't see the way of making it better, that's the way it is, I would just not focus on it. So which is makes it quite challenging for everybody who works with me. Because you don't get a lot of honey, you get a lot of shit from me.
Well, okay, so let me ask you this question. It just popped into my head, which is, well, what would have to happen for John to feel fulfilled?
I don't think I have the answer to this question yet. I think I'm still learning what this level of happiness would be, because I think this happiness is the fulfillment, and I think I don't fully understand what it is. But as my life goes by, I'm starting to realize more and more that I'm feeling fulfilled more when I can impact life of other people around me and make them better. So when I'm getting something, I don't really feel great. My sales director just bought he's probably going to hate me for saying this, but he just bought a house. And when I bought my house, I wasn't really feel happy. I'm happy as fuck for him because I created opportunity for other people to now start buying houses by working in this business. And this guy worked here for 6 years. And now he bought his condo working here. He now bought a house by working here. So now I'm creating opportunities for other people around me, and I'm fulfilling lives of other people. So that's what I think is the very big fulfillment for me. And I don't think I've fulfilled other people's lives enough yet for me to be grateful for what I've accomplished. And I think when I will impact enough of lives, that's where I'm really going to truly fulfill myself.
And I mean, congratulations to you, first of all, because at 28, not a lot of people get to that level to realize like fulfillment is not necessarily what you achieve, but what you help others to achieve. And that level of contribution, which is beautiful. But I also think too, and I guess my question for you is where is the opportunity for John to also have, that feel that fulfillment by helping others while feeling fulfillment for himself? And what does it cost you? So maybe be a second question, is what does it cost you, or what's the second order consequences for you not personally being feeling fulfilled?
I think me not being fulfilled will impact how many other lives I can impact, because if I'm not truly who I could possibly be, it's going to either slow down my abilities of helping other people, or it's not going to open it to a full potential. So I have to be fulfilled to help others. It's just like an airplane. You have to put an air mask on your own mouth first before you help others. Otherwise, you're going to just die, and there's no way you can help anyone else. So I think same principle applies to everything else in life. You first have to be fulfilled before you can start giving it to other people. And you may not be fully fulfilled, but you have to have at least certain degree of fulfillment before you start giving love to other ones. And where is the line? And I think I'm right on the edge where I'm starting to realize this more and more, is that the real destination is the journey, and having fulfillment throughout this journey of life and building the business is what the happiness is all about. It's not about the destination in 5 years or 10 years. And it's not about the vision, what's going to happen, where the happiness would be, but the happiness is in today, and having this conversation with you right now and living this day and having this beautiful ride on a boat. That's really truly fulfillment. And for me, the thin line is catching myself in those moments of me living today and being present, what the fulfillment is. And I've been learning this probably for the last 6 or 7 months. Is like, today is the happiness. Today, whatever I get the opportunity to experience today, wake up and meet new people and spend the day with the people I love, is the true fulfillment.
Hey, listen, for when I first asked you the question, you were like, well, I don't know if that really is that's not for me. And then what you just laid down there is, I think beautiful, brother. Like, it's, that evolution. You said that the last 6 months that you've been working on it. What changed 6 months ago?
I don't think something drastically changed 6 months ago. It was me trying to find it for the last 2 years, and me having this internal pain where I realized, well, I'm in a business for the last 10 years and I'm grinding every single day. And I thought once I'm going to get to a certain size, things will change. And it's me telling stories to myself that things will get better once I'm going to get to this point. But it doesn't change. And I realized for me, it's never going to fucking change. Like, whether the business is going to be at 50 million and 100 million. And what I realized is the sooner I will understand it, the better my life would be. And most importantly, I want to impact lives of people around me, the people who are really close to me and people who love me, of telling them stories that the life will get better once the business is going to be this size. I just don't want to do that. Right. So I want to find this thin line of every day, and I've been looking for it for a couple of years. And I think slowly I started to understand what I need to do, and I just started to take extra steps day by day by day by day by day of feeling this joy and pleasure of living every single day.
I'm curious, what's making that progress? What is it? Are you asking yourself a different question? Did you recreate a different routine? Where is it coming from?
I think it's actually somewhat correlates with age again. It's the way I live my life. It's all in on everything. And I think I just needed to experience X amount of things in my life to understand what I truly like. And then once I found X amount of things throughout my daily life, which I could do, what truly makes me fulfilled. So for me, let's say I truly love reading books, right? So for me, I got to do that. For me, I truly love training. So I got to do that. For me, I figured out that sleep is extremely important. And before I didn't prioritize sleep as much. This year, I'm really working hard on prioritizing. And it's me having those small things every day, which are important for me, and doing them on a daily basis, which gives me like a recharge. And I'm not trying to do them for, 10 hours in one day, but it's having a little bit of pleasure and a joy in every single day, what's giving me slowly this fulfillment.
Dude, that's freaking awesome. Like, how much sleep are you getting a night?
I'm now 7 hours. I'm slowly getting up a little bit more.
Ideally 8. Is that what you're?
Well, the truth is I don't even know what the ideal number is, because the reality is I have this like not sleeping enough has been a part of my life for so many years. So for me, what is the ideal number? I don't know, because I don't think it's X amount of hours. Like you can't sleep for 12 hours today and sleep 5 and feel great the day after. Like you need to have X amount. And I was just never consistent enough with X amount of time. But I think 7.5 to 8 is probably the ideal number for me.
Yeah, I love like what where your head is at around this recharge process, little increments every single day. And like you say, whether, creating that consistency is what it sounded like to me, is this consistent flow of things that allow you to recharge and whatever that is. And I think it's a good lesson for everybody to kind of pay attention to. It's probably specifically a really good lesson for me to pay attention to, because I have a tendency to overstack and overfill my plate. That's not unusual. And so it can, you can get into the consistent habit of overflowing your plate.
Yep.
So it's
that's the story of my life, my friend.
Yeah.
I feel
it sounds like it. Yeah.
It's the same thing. And then it's just, for me, it's again a story I tell to myself that I'm going to overfill the plate only for today, then for tomorrow, and then a year passes by, and then I live like this for 10 years. I'm like, well, a decade passed. Like it's been a decade of me doing consistently the same thing, and nothing didn't change. So when I realized it's been 10 years, and it hit me hard, because I realized, well, if it didn't change for 10 years, it ain't going to change for the next 10 unless I'm going to take some action right now, and I'm going to start doing those incremental changes. And I think for most of the business owners and entrepreneurs, I think it's very common to overload our plates and take on more than we can possibly achieve, and expecting a lot of things to be done at a very short period of time, and not thinking more strategically with a longer vision.
Yeah, I think too, as you were just saying that, what popped into my head is like also entrepreneurs or business owners or business leaders in general are just kind of think like, oh, well, if I don't do this, then the business is going to go backwards, or the people will go backwards, or I'm needed in the business, whatever the story is. I'm curious, what's your experience been with your business? Is it expanding with the way you're dealing with your life now, or is there also a second order consequence of, more systems, more admin, more structure that you have to put in place to make sure it doesn't go backwards?
Because every single year we've been scaling up, we are becoming way more structured. And I think this year we became more structured than ever. First of all, we got to a certain size where we can start affording things. But secondly, I started to realize that without the structure, things would just not work. So a big thing for me was realizing that the org chart is actually important. And in order for me to build a company, we have to run very structurally. Otherwise, we're just going to be it's going to be a chaos. Like you can't, all the corporations in the entire world are built in a very similar way, and there's a reason behind it. Same thing works with governments. It's got to be structured. There has to be chain of command. That's how the military works. It's the same principle which will apply to business. I only started to apply this principle last year, and it took a while to restructure things. And so that's where it also helps big time with me, with my personal life, is because things becoming more manageable. I'm not one guy now running the entire show. There's head of departments, and it goes hand in hand of me doing those daily incremental improvements, but also business having a daily incremental improvements. So it's not like one area. I'm essentially doing incremental improvements across my entire life, and that's why life gets better. And it's also me realizing at the same moment, probably a couple of years ago, that I'm not happy with my personal life, neither I'm not happy with my professional life, because now I'm just building a bigger jail cell for myself. So it's a phrase from the book E-Myths that a lot of entrepreneurs, specifically tradespeople, are good tradespeople with entrepreneurial seizure. So that's what I realized. I wasn't really a tradesman, but I had this entrepreneurial seizure where I'm starting to make things bigger, but at the same time, I'm the main guy controlling everything, and it's not going to work. It's just not scalable. It's going to break, and I'm putting too much stress on myself. So I got to structure it more. I got to figure out the chain of command better and the process better.
So I haven't heard that. I don't recall. I've read the book, E-Myth, by Michael Gerber wrote that. And so he says it's like tradespeople that have an entrepreneurial seizure.
Yeah.
Right. That's actually a good way to put it.
They think that they're businessmen, but yeah, it's a tradespeople with entrepreneurial seizure.
Yeah. Good for, so what were some of the struggles? Like you talked about org chart. I really am a big believer in org chart. Like that to me is the first, I want to say it is one of the major, single things that a CEO should be paying attention to is the org chart, not just the org chart, but the quality of people in the org chart and what the positions are and how has that, like, what was the struggle? How did you grow through that? What did you learn from it? Because I think it's a really good lesson.
So I think I'll just do a quick step back. As the company started to scale, we started to create divisions. So once we reached $8 million point, I realized that, okay, I was a main salesman, a main logistics person, a main project manager, a main office admin, even though I had my wife. Now, at that point of time, my wife became a full office manager, but I was still being involved in a lot of things. So I started to add people in departments, and I started to pull myself out of certain roles, and other people started to manage those things. So the org chart started to develop very naturally, and a lot of things in a business, as the time goes by here, I'm realizing that like I naturally did a lot of things right without having an intent to do so. I realized that, well, I can't manage jobs as many anymore. We have too many projects running. I need a project manager. One person from foreman became project manager. I realized that my wife can't keep up as office manager. We needed an office administrator. Second person got added. I also realized that I can't do all the sales myself. Salesperson got added. Second person sales got added. So we got to a certain size where we're around 12 million, that we had a lot of departments, and each department had anywhere between 2 to 5 people, but all the departments had full roles. But those roles were all reporting to me. So even though we had departments, but there was no head of departments. So last year, it hit me hard that there is fully functional 5 departments in our organization, but out of 5 fully functional departments, there's only one head, and it's me. So everybody reports to me. And I realized, okay, well, it's not really going to work, because as we're adding more people in departments, now I'm dealing with 20 managers at a time. No, not scalable. So at that point of time, I started to put people at the head of departments. And the interesting thing about our organization is not only I don't have the experience being in trades, I don't have the experience being a manager, neither I don't have an executional experience being working in corporations. None of the people who work in organizations don't have managerial experience neither.
Right.
I have people at director roles. None of them never worked in these roles before. So as we're flying a plane, we're building the plane and we're fixing it. And sometimes we put a wing on a plane in the wrong spot, and then we fix it as we fly. So I put the people in these positions, but then I realized that they may not have leadership skills or executional skills. And now, because I put them at these positions, I also never coach them how to actually run at this position, because nobody never coached me, nobody never trained me, and I didn't know how to do it in the first place. I figured it out, and I was expecting the head of departments to figure it out as well, which was a rough journey.
Yeah. That, can create some real headaches and problems. So how are you solving those? Like, what does it look like for you guys?
So, it's not fully solved, and I actually don't think it's ever going to be solved. The hard thing about our organization is when the organization grows at that speed, regardless whether you're going to bring a person with experience or not, this person needs to keep up with speed. So the speed of growth of the company can outrun a lot of people. So the very important thing for me is, if it's a right person, and I would put this right person in the right seat, I'll be willing to wait for this person to catch up with that role. And that's what I'm doing with a lot of different roles. So just like from the book, The Good to Great, I really need to make sure that when it's a head of department, it's a right person. Whether he's on the right seat or not, I'm okay to make this mistake and shift people over. But very often I'm just giving them time, and then they're keeping up with their executional roles. And the way we do it is training. So every single head of department has X amount of books they have to read within a year, and those are mostly managerial books and business books and leadership books. We attend a lot of seminars and conferences over the last 3 years. It's been probably over 100 which I've attended.
100 conferences.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's what happened is at the point where I got to 12 million, I realized that, okay, I built this jail cell for myself. It's a small box where I'm inside of this box, and I'm managing all of the things. And the business got to a certain size where things do run. Business is actually working, but I don't fully have the structure. We don't have KPIs. We don't have metrics. There's not enough financial reporting. There is no SOPs. There is not enough systems in place. And things are working, but they're very much working because I'm at the head of it, and I'm the one connecting all the dots. But if I were to pull myself out of it, things will break. So when I realized that, I went on one conference and I realized I need to learn. So when I was a kid, I really liked reading. As I moved to Canada, I started working a lot. It got removed from my life. Something deep inside of me was telling me that you have to learn. Like you gotta learn. And I was just pushing it away for a couple of years. But at one point of time, it clicked that I have to start doing it. I have to start learning how to actually run the business, because it's the way I'm doing it based on my feelings is not going to work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I went on this conference. I learned a couple of things there. Then I realized, okay, well, it's actually a wars going on them. And then it was the first conference ever where I went myself. On the second conference, I brought 20 people with me. So on the first one, I went myself. Second one was 20 people out of my team members and all managers. And then I started to read books at the same time. And I realized it's actually giving me a lot of answers, or it at least tells me as a verification about a lot of things we've done in the past that we did them right. It's crazy enough that I would read a book, and then I read in the book that we're doing it exactly as the book says, but I didn't even know like how we came up with this idea. We're somehow magically doing exactly this way, and now the book told me that we did it right. And now as I read it, I know that we're doing it right, but now I can also explain to someone else why we're doing it and how we're doing it. And now I'm becoming a better communicator. And the moment I figured this portion out, I realized, okay, well, that's the learning mechanism of how to build managers, directors, and vice presidents, is by actually constantly educating themselves how the businesses should be run. And that's essentially the playbook we've been following. is we take a person, if he's a really good person, really good fit for the company culturally, we would invest a shitload of money in educating this person, both personally and professionally.
Good for you, man. To put those systems in place and, the business, you can only run a business, for so long by, running it through the mechanism of, running the fastest, that usually ends up being the small entrepreneur way. And then you can't grow beyond that. If everybody's, if it's called follow the leader, it doesn't work. But the book is not, go with your gut and get rich. It's the book's called Think and Grow Rich. And clearly that's what you guys are doing. You're putting in the thinking time, you're putting in the training and developing the team. It's friggin' awesome.
So over the last 3 years, spent 1.5 million on professional development.
In the last 3 years?
1.5 million.
Wow.
Last year we spent $40,000 in books. That's how many books we buy.
Good for you. I would love to hear if there's any listeners out there that have businesses that have spent more than 1.5 million on training and $40,000 on books. I'm curious. I did have this question now that you mentioned the books. What is the consequence to the management team if they don't read the books? Do you guys do a book club, or do you review the books together? Like how does that, how do you guys run that in your organization?
So the way it started is that's exactly what we called it, HS Book Club. And essentially we got a book. We bought a lot of books. It was for managers. Once we bought all of those books, we gave them out to managers and explained them why they need to read it. And the first books we were starting to read, they were not so much about managerial type of work. A lot of them could be personal development, let's say Think and Grow Rich, or it could be how to win friends and influence other people. But then we also started to get into business books. One of the first book we ever read, it's called How to Win with Accountability. I can't remember the author, but it's a really thin. It's more of a booklet, but it's a good step of why the organization has accountability and why other people will be holding you accountable, and how to be a good team member and why you should be holding other people accountable. But then once you read this one, there is a next sequence. So to answer your question, there was no consequences of not reading them. However, there were prizes if you do read. So let's say our design department ended up finishing every single person in the department ended up finishing all books, 2 books in a row, so 2 months in a row. We gave them 1 book per month. So they did it, I think, 2 or 3 months in a row. That was the only department where everybody finished on time in between company meetings, where they get each single one. So we send them to a Michelin star restaurant in downtown Toronto, and we paid for the entire meal. And that was our way of saying thank you.
And everybody goes together.
Everybody goes together. The department goes together. And the last book which they read before we send them there was Unreasonable Hospitality.
Oh, it's a great book, eh?
And now we send them to a restaurant where they can see hospitality.
Yeah, what was that guy's name? Unreasonable Hospitality. If anybody, that's a really, I saw the author speak at a conference, and it's a really, really, really good book.
Yeah, I'm pretty bad with names of authors, but yeah, I heard his speech, and right after I bought this book as well.
Unreasonable Hospitality. That's the guy that has the Michelin star restaurant. Yeah. Just want to make sure it was the right one. Unreasonable Hospitality. And the other one was How to Win with Accountability. We'll put it in the show notes, guys, so you don't have to worry about it. If you're driving, don't start Googling. Any other ones that you recommend?
Oh, yeah. Good to Great. It's probably my
classic.
For personal and for all people who don't fully feel fulfilled would be The Mountain Is You. That's a really good book. Another business. I really like business books. That's why. That's like more of a personal development. Yeah, that's like a mindset breakthrough book. It's a really good book too. I've read it. It's fantastic, guys. The Great Book of Business.
Oh, I haven't read that.
That's phenomenal. So that's going to be our next company book. which we're going to be reading, and I'm going to start reading in 2 weeks.
The Great Book of Business?
The Great Book of Business.
Okay.
No, sorry, the Great Game of, maybe the Great Game of Business or the Great Book of Business. I one or another.
We'll look it up and post it. Business. And then what about, like, so how do you know these guys finishing the books?
We would ask them. So there is no specific set of accountability because we expect them to read at their personal time. And it was a journey. So we started the first one. I explained why it needs to be done. Some people read it, some people didn't. Some people said out loud that they didn't read it. They explained the reason. And then we went on like this for about a year. And now after the first year, what I did is I went to the people who I put as directors and head of departments. So I told them that my expectations of you would be very different. I would actually be expecting 2 books per month.
2 books per month?
Yeah, to explain why and which ones. And well, the reason I chose 2 is if you read 30 minutes per day, by the end of the month on average, you're going to finish the books. So I told them about it. I explained them why. They both agreed. And the way my leadership style works is about explain. I would first start with why. I would explain it. And if the person would agree to do certain things, I would hold them accountable. So if they don't agree and they believe I'm unreasonable, I'm open to discussion and we can change the rules of the game. But the moment they're going to agree, this is the rules, we're not going to change them. We're going to have to stick to the rules of the game. Unless they're now ready to have a conversation, then they're going to ask to reconsider. But at no point of time, you can't miss a deadline unless we had a conversation prior and not a day before the deadline. So that's how we're going for another year. Then this year, what I did is at one point of time, I stopped giving books to everybody in the company. And I told them that now it becomes optional. If anybody wants to take it, they can. But if they don't want to, they don't have to do it. And I wanted to see what percentage of people would continue taking them. And my theory failed. So as a result, amount of people which actually started taking books was a lot smaller. And as of the next month, I'm going to use a different strategy where I'm going to explain to people that if at any point of time they would like to take a higher positions in the company, they have to have a certain level of professional knowledge. And in order for them to have it, they have to finish those courses. So there is no ability to have a promotion or whatsoever unless they're going to be reading those books. And the books, again, are pretty simple. But if you would like to be a head of department, you need to understand how the KPI works and how to build the KPIs and how to measure them and how the scorecards works and what metrics are important and how to read the P&L. And the truth is the way we would, let's say we're going to have a company meeting on October 11th. And by the way, if you have time and you want to join,
yeah, I'd love to come down. If I'm in town, that'd be amazing. Yeah, I'd love to come and check that out.
During this, I would explain how this balance sheet work and how profit and loss statement works. Mm-hmm. We've done it probably 5 times by now, but right now we first ran an open book. So I share the entire P&L with entire managers. But now before I'm going to share the real statistics with them, I'm going to ask them to build the entire overhead structure of what they believe the percentages of the overhead should be and how the cost of goods sold is made. Now, a lot of those numbers were already shared with them in the past, so they should know. But I want to see if their numbers and their guesses would match with reality. And then I'm going to show them real numbers. Then we're going to probably spend an hour explaining of how the prices of our services are made. Because it's very difficult sometimes for certain people to understand why do we charge the prices we charge for certain services. But once you understand the logic behind the prices, it would make a lot more sense. And now the book, the Great Book of Business, or the Great Game of Business, one or another, it explains not only this, but some of the other business components. And I would just use this as an example to people in a room, saying that this is an example which was used from the book. This is why it's very important to read them, so that you guys don't understand not only how to do your job, but also how does business operate, and whether you want to stay and continue working in this organization and help it to grow, or whether you want to open your own business. At least you need to have this knowledge so that you can exceed at your job.
That's awesome, man. What's your? Sorry, I was thinking about this earlier, but what's your strategy on hiring or, the growth of your people? I know that you obviously spent $1.5 million in the last 3 years on training. So what does that look like? If you're hiring somebody, if somebody wants to join your team, how do they have to show up, and what do you look for?
So the way it depends on the department. So let's say if I'm hiring a person in sales, ideally I'm looking for somebody with somewhat experience in landscaping and sales. If they have zero experience, I would be willing to take them on and train them and coach them. Sales department has the most developed training process. Their training doesn't stop at all. Like the moment you're in the sales department, you have to train every day for 30 minutes for the rest of your career, every single day.
30 minutes every day.
Every day for 5 days a week. It's mandatory. The moment you miss it, we stop the leads. Shut down the leads immediately if you didn't train. So if you didn't train today, tomorrow your leads are shut down. Then sales training have a daily sales call, which goes for 1 hour. And let's say if you're a new person joining the company, what's going to happen is you will be training online on your own for 30 minutes, specifically on sales techniques, sales training, sales mindset, objection handling, price objections handling, grading, pre-qualification, closing, negotiation. On top of this, you're going to have 1 hour call with your entire department where we're going to be reviewing other estimates we've done, some of the challenges sales team is experiencing. And then during your first 2 weeks, you're going to be going as a body with the other sales manager, and you're going to be seeing real jobs and quoting them. And during this time, you're also going to be reading our SOPs. So we have a full built-in standard operating procedures for the entire sales department. And as you're reading a chapter, you will be completing a test right after. So you read a chapter, you complete a test, and we have probably 300 SOPs about every single process. So you read internal processes, you understand how the pricing works. You spend 2 weeks shouting another person. And the moment the 2 weeks are done, you pass a test. And if you pass the test, then you continue your own professional development of sales skills. And then you're still being a part of this 1 hour call. So that's sales department only.
Wow. So you said you had 300 SOPs. Is that for selling?
That's for internal processes.
Internal processes
of how estimating software works, how to submit, how to receive the deposits from clients, we're in landscape design and build company. So for us, we have designers. So you have to have a very specific format, how you submit the project to a design department. We have how do you get paid your commission? How this commission gets calculated? How do you deal with client scope of work changes in the middle of the job, before the job? So there's a SOP and everything. It may sound like a lot, but it's pretty straightforward because SOP may take you a minute to a minute and a half to read and view. Mm-hmm. And then it just goes chapter by chapter.
So how many SOPs do you think you have for your entire company? Would you know?
No, over 1,000.
Over 1,000.
Yeah. So I'm a big process guy. I love processes and love systems. Yeah. I love scalability, and in order for a company to be scalable, we have to have scalable, duplicatable processes which are easy to implement and easy to train, easy to adapt, and easy to change.
Guys, if you have a business out there and you are anywhere between, I'll say, 2 million or 3 million in revenue up towards higher, how many SOPs do you have in your company? That is a question you should be asking yourself right now while you're driving, because that's how you scale.
Well, you have to have processes. Otherwise, there's going to be a chaos. Can't scale the company if everybody does things their own way. Right? The best example is definitely McDonald's, right? They can quickly train a person to flip burgers, and the burgers will be done in a very specific size, a very specific format, regardless of anywhere you go in North America.
Yeah. No, 100%. That's, and then now do you promote, some people might say, well, that builds, robots basically, but is that what is your take in terms of adding the personal flair into the SOP or into this, the operating procedures of the company?
I don't think it builds robots. And the reason I don't think it builds robots because we give people a huge amount of freedom. What we do is we set boundaries. So this is left, this is right. Anywhere in between is your freedom. You can't cross left because left is the opposite lane. You're going to hurt somebody. But there is 5 lanes on a highway. Anywhere of these lanes is fully yours to take. the moment you're going to try to go in the opposite direction, the accident's going to happen. Something's going to go wrong. The truth is, none of these SOPs were not created because we wanted to make a structure. We had a mistake. We had a screw up. Every single SOP is a result of an error which happened. And the moment the error happens in an organization, we create an SOP. So every time there is a mistake in a company, I say, I'm glad it happened. We're going to have an SOP.
How are we going to learn from this?
We're going to learn from this. And we're going to make sure that it never happens again. And in order for it not to happen again, it needs to be written, SOP gets done, and then everybody in this department reads it. And if it's a major mistake, then entire organization needs to get this SOP. So depending on what happens, some SOPs are only sales related, but let's say out of this 300, which I said, probably 100 are applied to every single person in the organization, because it could be also a policy, and a policy could be how do you, request a vacation, right? It's still part of those SOPs, but it's pretty straightforward. It explains how you need to get it done, but it also allows people to onboard better.
Dude, that's freaking awesome. I mean, and this is why you grow at 40 to 50% every year.
We only started to have this SOPs this year. So it's not like something we had before. What happened is, as the company was scaling, we started to have new people coming in. And then I realized that the same people in the same departments, or new people in the same departments, are making the same mistakes over and over and over. And I realized we're so bad and horrible at teaching people that we can't make sure that the same mistake does not repeat itself over. And because the organization is that size, the truth is you can make 100 mistakes in every single department. So in order to stop this from happening, we needed to have SOPs. And it's also really difficult to implement. You can't do 100 as you're running the business. So it's a journey, it's a process. So it's a continuous improvement, which will never stop. And for us, we've started doing them last year. And as the time went by, we've developed them. And we're developing the same thing for every single department.
Do you have a director of training? No. So who's responsible? Every department lead is responsible for their own SOPs in their department.
Yeah. So when the person comes in and joins the organization, then our office manager would give them a certain list of policies, company handbook. They would go through it. Then they have a checklist of things needs to be done before this person would actually start onboarding. So there's like a general onboarding for anybody who comes. You'd usually be done in 2 days. Part of this onboarding is 4 books, which you have to read. So those are not optional. It's mandatory. You would literally not leave the office till you're done with them. Once you're done with those, then your interdepartmental onboarding starts. And then depending on department, it's very different. So sales managers could be between 2 to 4 weeks. A project manager is 3 to 5 months. So it's way longer, because they're having a lot more responsibilities. They're managing a lot more things. So theirs is much, much, much longer. And a project manager, we call it project manager manual, is a book about 500 pages long. So it describes how the entire company operates.
Is that all developed this year? Or has that been ongoing?
It's been ongoing, but a big jump happened this year, like a huge jump, because I just went all in on this. So I became, I think my nickname by now is the process and SOP. So I just really started to grind down. Project manager manual took us 4 years to write. So every winter project manager would write it, and then I'm going to rewrite it, and then I'm going to rewrite it. And if any of my project managers listen to me right now, they thought it's done, but this winter we're going to rewrite it.
I'm sure they're happy to hear that. It's fascinating what you're doing. Are you seeing a return on the investment of the SOPs? And since it's just been this year, like where's the biggest return happening for you?
So we just hired a sales manager 2 weeks ago. 6 weeks ago. And then on Tuesday this week, we had a sales manager training. So we're driving around, and as we're going from job site to job site, different sales managers will sit in my truck, and I'm going to be doing one-on-ones with them. So we do it once a month with them. And I just get overall experience of how they're feeling their job, what are some of the difficulties they have. So I asked this guy, what are some of the things which you like about our company or the things you don't like about our company? I said, I love that it's very structured. I love that you guys are actually able to onboard and train me and explain how it works. I don't have to guess. It is pretty straightforward. Now, it is the first person ever who joined the company and said it to me. Before that, the previous sales manager said, your onboarding sucks. Like, there's a lot of gaps. But again, it's a journey. It doesn't happen overnight. It took years to develop. It took, and it's still not done. Like it's a Kaizen. It's going to be a continuous improvement. It will never stop. But at one point of time, we could say that it's somewhat good, and then we'll only be making it better. So a return on investment, I think, with sales managers happen now. And I think with other departments will probably take another year to 2 years to fully finish it. But the very important thing is every single system and process which we implement in a company has to be scalable. So in order for me to continue scaling the company, I need to make sure that we can continue scale departments and we can continue being fast and training and onboarding people so that they can continue bringing value to a company. The longer it takes for a person to get onboarding, the less of the value we're going to be receiving from this position in a shorter period of time. So SOPs are crucially important if anybody wants to scale their business.
Yeah. When you're hiring, do you, being an, immigrant to Canada, do you look for other immigrants that have a similar kind of drive that you have when you're hiring, or is that a factor for you guys at all? Or
we don't hire immigrants specifically. A lot of immigrants would apply for a job here because, well, if somebody knows me, they could apply just because of me. We have a lot of Canadians working here. What I tend to find is that very often where people immigrated, it almost becomes as one of the best filters you could possibly have. You just think of it. In order for a person to get here, they need to pass the government screening. This screening is not easy. I went through the screening. So the government does a lot of background check for you. They make sure this person is very legit when he gets here. Now, the moment the person comes here, if he's a newcomer, they really need to grind their ass in order for them to stay here because the bills are expensive. If you're coming here, you're probably not moving from a first world country. You could be moving from US or somewhere from Europe, but very often you're going to be moving from a less developed country, which means you need to work really hard, and you probably came here for better opportunities, which means you would be willing to go above and beyond to achieve those. So it's almost a validation that it's going to be a good candidate, but it does not apply 100% of the times, right? So it's a good thing, but it's not a mandatory.
Yeah, no, it's like, we've had a lot of experience in this in the US. Like I remember I interviewed a guy, I don't know if I told this story on the podcast before, but, I asked him like, what was, one of the biggest, catalyst, like things that happened to him in his life that, left in an indelible kind of like mark for him for learning and growth and drive. And he said he immigrated from Cuba and on a boat, and they got about 11 miles off the shore of Miami, and the boat capsized, and there was 32 people on the boat, I think, and they had to swim 11 miles to shore.
Holy shit.
And, I think 10, I'm making up the number, but it's about this, didn't make it. And, when you hear that story and you listen to what, immigrants have to go through to come to the country, the sacrifice that they make, the commitment, and granted, he didn't probably come in the right way, but then when he got here, he did it the right way. But there's, it's whether you're, there's a sacrifice, and there's a drive and a determination to make your life better. And so it's, like I say, we've talked about it through the podcast, but it's like, it's the immigrant story. And it's like, your story is unbelievable. Not just from an immigration story. It's an unbelievable story of a guy who developed himself as a leader, grew his business, is continuously evolving, not only himself, but his people. And, dude, I take my hat off to you. Like it's a really insane story of any way you look at this. And so, I mean, congratulations to you, your success, your people, what you're trying to accomplish. Like as you said earlier in the podcast, and I still reflect on it as we've been talking, is, your commitment to contributing to, other people in your organization, seeing them grow is what fulfills you. And, I think that's an amazing mark of a great leader. So, thank you for being on the show. This has been an amazing conversation. Guys, I hope you all love it. John, how do people find you if they want to find you, if they want to find your company to do, to do some work for them? If, you're in the Toronto area and you need landscape services, I know that John does some amazing work, and his company does amazing work. He's not actually doing the work anymore, but he's driving it, driving the business, driving the people. How would people find you? And if they wanted to reach out for advice or, just to touch base.
Sure. Best way is finding us on Instagram. It's Action Home Services. Just send us a message there. If you would like to speak with me, I'll reach out back to you. And check our website, check our social medias. We'll post some cool stuff there. If at any point of time, any of the followers and listeners want to ask for my help with anything related to your business, I'm going to be there for you.
Wow. Guys, Action Home Services, John Karpov, dude, thank you so much. I get the privilege he's going to stay for dinner, and we're going to talk some more tonight with you and your wife, Shahira, and blessed to have you here on the show. Thank you for sharing your vulnerability and your story, and appreciate you so much, brother. All right. Thanks, guys, for listening. Thanks for listening. I appreciate you being with us. If you found value in the show and know a friend or a coworker who could benefit from the conversation, please share the link via text or on social media. Remember, each share creates a ripple effect of knowledge and inspiration. We'll see you next week.
The views, information, or opinions expressed by guests during the Dwayne Kerrigan podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of Dwayne Kerrigan and his affiliates. Dwayne Kerrigan or the Dwayne Kerrigan podcast is not responsible for and does not verify the accuracy of any of the information contained in the podcast series. The primary purpose of this podcast is to educate and inform. Listeners are advised to consult with a qualified professional or specialist before making any decisions based on the content of this podcast.